There's nothing worse than hearing that a family member has passed away because of somebody else's negligence. And wrongful death claims apply to a wide variety of negligence claims because there are many different ways that people are fatally injured because of certain accidents. We see them primarily in the motor vehicle accident sphere, where you see car, motorcycle accidents, snowmobile accidents that lead to fatalities. We also see them in slip and falls, where people fall down a flight of stairs and unfortunately pass away because of their injuries. We also see them in the medical malpractice context and, frankly, many other areas. Now, the law in Ontario does provide avenues of recourse for family members where they've lost a loved one. And the Family Law Act, which is the governing piece of legislation, outlines who can recover through a lawsuit or otherwise. And that includes spouse, the children, the grandchildren, the parents, grandparents, and even the brothers and sisters of those that are injured. Now, depending on how the family member passed away, it does affect your rights. In the motor vehicle accident sphere, there are more benefits than you would receive otherwise in the slip and fall context or a medical malpractice context. Under the accident benefit claim, there are payments that can be made for the loss of a loved one, $25,000 to a spouse, and $10,000 to anyone who is dependent on that spouse. The accident benefit system also has coverage for funeral benefits, which will pay up to $6,000 for funeral expenses. Now, there isn't a concept where you sue for pain and suffering because the language pain and suffering is not really applicable under the Family Law Act. Rather, they use the language loss of care, guidance, and companionship. And as family members, you can assert claims under the Family Law Act for damages relating to your loss of care, guidance, and companionship. You can also assert claims for your economic losses, like shared family income, loss of savings, loss of household services, or even caregiving expense if you've lost a spouse that was looking after the children. So there are many types of damages that you can sue for that apply across the board, but you have a certain time period in order to make this decision. And for most adults, you have 2 years from the date that you knew or ought to have known that you had a cause of action, or just fancy language that you had 2 years from the date that the person passed away. Now, children are not affected by the limitation period in the same way, or minors, or people that are mentally incapable. The law carves out a special provision for parties under disability, or minors, or mentally incapable persons. And that would be they generally have 2 years to sue from the time that they turn 18 if you're a minor. And if you're mentally incapable, well, then your limitation period does not run until such time you have a court-appointed or a litigation guardian to make decisions for you. So if you have lost a loved one because of someone else's negligence, you do have options. And it's incumbent on you to reach out when the time is right, to speak to a law firm to figure out what the best options are for you with respect to you and your family.